Hi, I'm Murtaza. This is an original story I'm sharing to help English learners practice listening. Please listen slowly and enjoy. The last library in the world. A world without paper. In the not-too-distant future, the world changed in a quiet but powerful way. It did not happen in one day. It did not happen with loud explosions or wars. It happened slowly, year by year, screen by screen. People stopped using paper. At first, it felt like progress. Books became files. Newspapers became apps. Letters became messages. Schools gave children tablets instead of notebooks. Offices removed shelves and replaced them with clouds. Digital clouds that stored millions of documents in invisible places. The government said it was better for the environment. No trees will be cut, they said. No ink will be wasted. Everything will be faster, cleaner, smarter. Most people agreed. Soon, printing was limited. Then it was taxed. Then it was restricted. Finally, it was banned. Paper books were declared illegal. Libraries closed one by one. Their doors were locked. Their buildings were turned into data centers, shopping halls, or empty museums where people could look, but not touch. Children grew up without the sound of turning pages. They learned to swipe, not to flip. They learned to scroll, not to pause. And slowly, almost without noticing, the world forgot what a real book felt like. There was an old man at the end of the alley. In a small city, far from the bright digital towers, there was a narrow alley at the edge of an old neighborhood. Most people never went there. The buildings were old, the lights were weak, and the signal was always bad. At the very end of that alley lived an old man named Nader. People rarely saw him. They said he was strange. They said he did not use screens. They said he lived in the past. Nader was thin, with white hair and slow steps. His eyes were tired but deep, like they had seen many worlds. Above his small house was nothing special, just cracked walls and a broken doorbell. But beneath the house was something no one imagined. A basement. And inside that basement, a library. The secret library. Nader's basement was warm and quiet. The air smelled of old paper and time. Wooden shelves covered the walls from floor to ceiling. On them rested hundreds of books, some thick, some thin, some very old. He had saved them for years. When the ban began, he hid them. When the inspections started, he built secret walls. When others burned their books in fear, he carried his into the dark, one by one. He believed books were alive. Not alive like people, but alive in another way. They breathe when you open them, he used to whisper. They speak when you listen. Every night, Nader went down the stairs with a small oil lamp. He sat at a wooden table and opened a book. Sometimes he read history, sometimes stories, sometimes poetry he no longer fully understood, but still felt. Above him, the city glowed with screens. Below, words waited on paper. The boy who was curious. One afternoon, a boy named Armin was playing near the alley. He was about 10 years old. Like all children of his time, he carried a small screen in his pocket. He used it for school, games, and talking to friends. That day, the signal was weak. Very weak. His screen froze. Annoyed, Armin walked down the alley, looking for a better connection. That was when he noticed the old house. The door was slightly open. Curiosity is stronger than rules. Armin stepped inside. The house was quiet. Too quiet. No screens. No lights. Just silence. "Hello?" he called. No answer. Then he saw the stairs going down. And a soft yellow light. He thought, what are these? Armin slowly walked down the stairs. Each step creaked under his feet. At the bottom, he saw the old man sitting at a table, reading. And around him, books. So many books. Armin's eyes grew wide. "What are these?" the boy asked. Nader looked up. He was surprised, but not angry. He studied the boy for a moment, then smiled. "These," he said softly, "are things that do not need electricity to be read." Armin walked closer. He touched a book. It felt strange, heavy, real. "You mean, they work without power?" Nader nodded. The boy laughed. "But if the power goes out," Armin said, "what's the use of them?" The old man's smile became deeper. "On the contrary," he said, "if the power goes out, these are the only things that still work." Learning to read again. Armin began to visit Nader every day. At first, he came out of curiosity. Then he came out of habit. Finally, he came out of love. Nader taught him how to hold a book, how to turn pages gently, how to read slowly, how to imagine. "It's not like a screen," Nader said. "A book doesn't rush you. You must walk with it." Armin learned new words, old words, words no one used anymore. He learned patience. He learned silence. He learned that stories could live inside his head, not just inside a device. Sometimes, the boy asked questions. Why did they ban books? "Because books make people think," Nader answered. "And thinking is dangerous to those who want control." The world grows faster. Outside the alley, the world moved faster every year. Screens became thinner. Data became larger. People trusted machines with everything: memory, decisions, even emotions. Few people remembered phone numbers. Few people remembered directions. Few people remembered stories. If it's not saved, they said, it doesn't matter. Nader worried. Armin listened. The warning. One night, during a storm, the lights flickered. Just for a second. But Nader noticed. "Remember this," he told Armin. "The world is strong, but it is not invincible." "What do you mean?" the boy asked. "Everything that depends on one thing," Nader said, "can disappear when that one thing is gone." Armin didn't fully understand. Not yet. Years passed. Armin grew taller. Nader grew weaker. The visits continued. One day, Nader gave Armin a book. "Keep this safe," he said. "What if they find it?" Armin asked. "Then hide it," Nader replied. "Or remember it." Not long after, Nader passed away quietly in his sleep. The basement stayed closed, but the words lived on. The Great Blackout. It happened without warning. A global failure. Satellites went dark. Servers shut down. Power plants stopped. Screens died. Phones became useless glass. The world panicked. No messages. No maps. No records. No answers. Days passed. Then weeks. People forgot how to wait. They forgot how to read signs. They forgot how to learn without help. A small light in the alley. In the same old alley, a small light appeared. An oil lamp. People noticed. They followed it. One by one, they walked down the stairs. And they saw books. Real books. They stood in line. Not for charging, not for updates, but to learn, to read, to remember. Words on paper still live. Armin, now a young man, stood at the table where Nader once sat. He opened a book and began to read aloud. Slowly, clearly, the words filled the room, and the world began again. The first night of teaching. That night, the basement was full. People of all ages sat on the floor, on old boxes, on the stairs. Some were young, born in the digital age. Some were old, with memories of paper books from long ago. Fear lived in their eyes. But hope lived there too. Armin cleared his throat and spoke softly. "We will start slowly," he said, "like the old man taught me." He opened the book. The sound of paper filled the room. It was a small sound. But in that dark world, it felt loud. He began with simple words. People listened. Some closed their eyes. Some cried quietly. They were not just hearing a story. They were remembering how to be human. Learning without screens. The days after the blackout were hard. No machines. No instructions. No digital help. People had to learn again. How to read signs. How to measure time by the sun. How to write with a pen. Armin turned the basement into a school. Every morning, he taught letters. Every afternoon, he taught words. Every night, he read stories. The books became teachers. Silent, patient, honest. Stories that heal. Some books were sad. Some were hopeful. Some were full of mistakes and lessons. People saw themselves in the pages. A woman said, "I forgot how to imagine." A man said, "I forgot how to sit still." A child asked, "Why do these stories feel warm?" Armin answered, "Because they were written by hands, not machines." The memory test. One evening, a man asked Armin a question. "What if the books burn?" The room became silent. Armin paused. Then he said, "Then we become the books." He began to teach people how to remember stories. How to repeat them. How to pass them on. From mouth to mouth. From heart to heart. A new kind of library. The basement was no longer the only place. People copied stories by hand. They made small notebooks. They hid them in walls, bags, and clothes. The library spread, not as a building, but as people. When power returned, months later, the lights came back. Screens woke up. Networks returned. The world cheered. But something was different. People did not rush back. Some turned off their screens. Some kept reading. Some chose both. The choice. A group of officials came to the alley. They saw the books. "This is illegal," one said. Armin stood calm. "These saved us," he replied. The officials hesitated. The people stood together. Silent. Strong. The last lesson. Armin opened Nader's first book. He read the words Nader once loved. Then he closed it, and said, "Technology can help us. But it must never replace us. Words on paper do not need power. But they give us power." Not the last library. Years later, children learned both worlds. Screens and paper. Speed and silence. And in the history books, one sentence remained. This was not the last library in the world. It was the first library of the new world. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on improving your skills and mindset. See you in the next video.